Okay people, so in this lesson I'm going to be showing you how to open up Delphi, how to create a new project, save that project, closing all the projects and reopening a saved project. Okay, so first of all what we want to do, if you do not have the desktop icon, you just click on the start menu, you type in DEL and you will see Delphi 2010 is the first one on the list. You just click on Delphi 2010. It might take a second or two to open. Okay, then once it has opened, you will see, the first thing you will see is your welcome page. Okay, so from here, what we will be doing is we are going to be opening a new project. So each time you start with another program or a separate program, you will be creating a new project. So the first thing is we go to the left hand side at the top, we click on file, we go to where it says new, we just hover, you don't have to click, you can just hover your mouse, then you move over to where it says VCL Forms Application Delphi. Okay, so be sure not to just click the forms, otherwise your program will not be able to run. So make sure it says VCL Forms Application. You click once and it will open up a new page for you. Okay, so inside this page you will see basically the first thing here in front of you, that is called the form. Okay, here at the bottom right hand side we have the tool palette, and at the left hand bottom side we've got the object inspector. I'll dive into that in a few seconds. The first thing we need to do every time if you open up a new project, first thing on your list is you click on file, you click save project as. This will open up your explorer, your file explorer. So what you want to do is you want to maybe get a location on your computer where you will be saving all the future projects. So what I like to do is just go to my documents, then I have a new folder. So if you're doing this for the first time, also maybe just say grade 10 Delphi projects. Okay, so I just made a folder, renamed it to grade 10 Delphi projects. Then I want to go inside that folder. Okay, so from here on out, I want to always create new folders for each separate program that I will be doing. Okay, so for this first one, I'm going to create a new folder inside my Delphi projects, and I'm going to call this the first program. Okay, then what I want to do is I want to enter that folder again, and then I'm going to click save. And then it's going to ask me again, and I just click save again. Okay, now I know my project is saved. Okay, so what I then want to do is let me show you how to close everything and then reopen the project we just saved. So to close everything, you just go file, close all. This will take you back to the home page. Alright. So from here on out, to open up a specific project, you will see your recent open projects is listed here. But what you want to do is you want to go to file, open project, so not just open project, then navigate to where you saved that program. So I've saved mine in documents, grade 10 Delphi projects, first program, and then you'll see there's normally two that has the same kind of logo. It says project 1, project 1. What you want to be doing is just, if you scroll a bit to the right, you will see there's a size column, 1 kilobyte versus 5 kilobytes. So you would want to open up the one that is bigger basically. So in this case it's the 5 kilobytes as the bottom one. So I'm just going to click on it, I'm going to click open, and here is the project that I was working on. Okay, so that is how to open a new project, how to save a project, how to close all the projects, and how to open a saved project. Okay, then next step is saving as you are going about your work. Okay, so every time you change something, if you add something or you do a piece of code, before you run the program, run as this green arrow, play arrow, that if you click it, it will actually compile all the coding that you have written and then open up the interactive GUI. So GUI, graphical user interface, that you can, if you have buttons, you will then be able to click the buttons and then the code will be running. Okay, so what I like to do is always before I click my run button, I like to save my project. Okay, so instead of going file save as, you just do that for the first one. I like to just click on these two floppy drives that are like on top of each other. So that is called the save all. So don't just use the normal save. I like to just do the save all. So if you clicked your save all, you will see it then goes blank. That means it has been saved, and then you can run your project. Okay, I like to save as often as I can. So for instance, if you are working on a 30-minute project and you get to minute 29 and load shedding is hitting, then you basically will lose all the work you did since you saved. So it's just like Microsoft Word, etc., etc. You need to save consistently. Okay. So yes, the first thing here on the main screen is your form. So we will be using a form as kind of like a plate to put all our components into. If we look at the right hand side, it is the tool palette here at the bottom. So inside the tool palette, you can actually just click on the pluses here at everything, and you will see there's a lot of components that is being added over here. So if we look at, let's say I just want to add something simple. I just want to add a button in. So I can go on the search bar, type in button, and you will see it gives me a T button. Then it's simply drag over and put the button in. I can go and search for an image, and I can just drag the T image over. Okay. Another thing, what I can do is, okay, just a technical difficulty. Another thing what I can do is, okay, so my Delphi just crashed, and that is the reason you need to save your work. Okay, so added the image. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a shape. So I just type in shape. I can see there's a component called T shape. I can just drag it over. Okay, so now what I can do is I can look at the object inspector at the left hand side. So the tool palette is just basically where you're going to get all the components you will be using, and then the object inspector is basically, it's what it says is. If you look closely at an object, you will find all its properties, all its events and stuff that happens with that one component. So you will see if I click on a component like the button, it is highlighted. That means I'm currently in the buttons object inspector. Okay, for instance, what we can do with this object inspector is we can change some of the shaped or components properties. If we look at the shape itself and we go to the object inspector, we look at the properties and we find the property called shape. We can see it is a rectangle, and then if you go and you click on something else in the drop down list like a circle, we can see that the shapes property, which tells it that the shape must be a rectangle, we changed to a circle. Okay. Another example of the properties, if we look at the left property, you'll see there's a value 280. If we decrease it by, let's say 20, if we decrease this number a bit and let's make it 200, we can see that the shape actually moved a bit to the left. So if we increase this number and let's say make it 300, we can see that the shape moves to the right. So what happens if I put it on 0? It goes all the way to the left. Okay, so how this property works, this left one, is wherever your shape is, you can see even if you drag it, that left property is changing. So if you go to way to the left, that is on the 0 line. So if you move on to the right hand side, you can see it increases, it increases, it increases. So there's no value called or property called right. It is just left. Same with the property called top. If we put it at 0, you'll see it goes all the way to the top. If we increase this by, let's say, 20, you can see it's starting to move a bit down, 40, 50, etc. So this is the object inspector, where we can change properties of an object. Okay, so just an example of how we can use the properties and the object inspector to manipulate items into doing what we want it to do is I'm gonna go into a button and just write a simple piece of code. So don't stress if you can't understand yet, we will dive into coding in the future. This is just to get an idea of what the properties is and the object inspector and so forth. Okay, so if I double click on a button, you will see it opens up another page, and this is where the coding will take place. You can see here at the bottom you can swap between the code and the design. So for now I just want to be at the coding section. I can see I'm inside my button 1, and then between the begin and end, I'm going to do my coding here. So what I'm going to be doing is, every time I click this button, I just want the shape to move 10 steps to the left. Okay, so what I can do is I must first call my property, my object. So in this case my object is shape 1. Then I'm going to have a full stop, and then I want to ask what property do I want to manipulate. So I want to manipulate the left property. So I say shape 1 dot, then I'm pointing towards the left property of shape 1, and then I am going to use a colon equals. So what I would like to maybe tell you guys is try to think a lot like language. Coding is just language with other words. Okay, so what I use to remind myself to set something equal to, like saying x is equal to 2, in this case I'm going to change my shape's left property, and what I like to do is this colon looks like almost like an I. So in my mind I call it an is, so is. It is, and then the next one equal. So that's a lot like English. The shape's left property is equal, and then what do I want to set it as? I want to set it as the shape dot left, so whatever it is, minus 10. So if I use, let's say in mathematics you use x, and x has the value of 10, this line basically says x is whatever x is minus 10. So if you run it the first time, you'll see what is x's value. X's value is 10. So x will be whatever x is 10 minus 10, so x will then be equal to 0. Alright. Okay, so if we leave it like as it is, shape left is equal whatever it is minus 10, and we click on the save, we click on play. I can click on my button, and you will see every time I click my button it moves 10 steps to the left. Okay, and that is basically all that you need to understand. Is you have your main screen, your form is your plate that you will be using, or it's going to become your GUI, so your graphical user interface. On the right and bottom side is your tool palette. Here you will find all the components we will be using to create the programs itself. Okay, if we click on the component on the left hand side, we get the object inspector. Inside the object inspector we can find all the properties of a component, and we can manipulate these values related to the properties to basically do whatever we want to do with that component. Okay, so that is all for this lesson. We will continue with coding and diving a bit deeper in future lessons.